Hello and welcome back to the top 85 games for the BBC Micro Video Countdown series. In at number 32, it's Sphere of Destiny. Now, this was a game that was released in 1986 by Audiogenic and it was developed by Gary Partis. Now in this video we're actually going to look at both Sphere of Destiny and Sphere of Destiny 2. Sphere of Destiny 2 was a very similar version of the game, but it was released a little bit later as part of the Fab 4 compilation, along with Psychastria 2, another one of Gary Partis' games, Omega Orb and Thunderstruck 2, the latter two of which being from Peter Scott, who also worked for Audiogenic at that time. Now, Sphere of Destiny owes its inspiration to another 1986 game from Gremlin Graphics called Trailblazer. This was developed by Sean Southern. It was released for the Commodore 64, the ZX Spectrum, and a number of other platforms, but it never came to the Beeb. So we have Gary Partis to thank for being inspired by that game and choosing to develop Sphere of Destiny. Now, this game is amazingly fast, as many of Gary's games tend to be. It has 3 split modes. It creates the effect of a 3D ball moving through space. And it also has some very amusing quirks, some little captions that come along throughout. And it's ridiculously difficult, let's face it. But I really, really like it. The style of game is really, really something that I enjoy. And it's obviously been an inspiration, along with Trailblazer, for later games like the 1993 DOS game Skyroads, which was released by Blue Moon Software. Anyway, we're going to take a look at both Sphere of Destiny and Sphere of Destiny 2 now. Okay, so let's kick things off with Sphere of Destiny. Here we are. So our eponymous character is Bruce the Bashful Jetball. You can see the commands there. So this game supports up to 4 players. You play consecutively, obviously, as was the case with many of these games back in the day. But this is just me, so I'm just going to play on my own. There you go. There's Gary Partis' signature there. Sphere of Destiny, nice big block scrolling title. Do like that. So press spacebar to play. Here we go. So we've got quite a giant magenta, yellow and blue title up at the top there, Sphere of Destiny. And then the psychedelic kaleidoscope of colours that is the game flying by. Nice little jingle in the background too. If you have a look at that high score table there, you can see Gary the Great in at the top, obviously. Dax Von Drac, I think that's a reference to Daryl Still, who was one of the main publishers at Audiogenic, and I think Thunder Peter is probably Peter Scott. And you've got Audiogenic themselves in there at number 8. All right, so let's go with number 1 and start. So super simplex, as it says, straight through, and that is literally all you need to do here. So there's my ball here. I can move left and right. I can decelerate and accelerate. I can also jump as well, but on this level, there's not a lot going on, as you can see. So you don't really actually need to jump at all. That's really just to demonstrate the controls. And that's it. We got to the end. So, I mean, first impressions of this game is, I mean, it's quite unlike anything else really for the Beeb at the time. It's really, really fast, obviously, and I mean, just an amazing kind of experience as much as anything else. Right, well, I didn't do very well there. So probably worth just pointing out that the coloured tiles that you're jumping across, they do different things depending on what you land on. So these magenta ones, I think they cause you to jump. Oh goodness! The blue and yellow ones I don't think do anything. Obviously the black ones are just a hole into open space. And you've got certain tiles that will reverse the effect of the controls. Those are particularly challenging. And then certain other tiles will cause him to jump. I think that's what the magenta tiles do there. Oh, there we go. Oh, yes. Just reverse my controls. So you press left and he goes right, and obviously accelerate becomes decelerate. Well, I didn't get very far there, and to be honest with you, I'm not surprised. So anyway, let's get my name into the Hall of Fame, such as it is. There you go. I've managed to bump Audiogenic off the bottom. So we'll try that again. I think the first thing to say, obviously, about Sphere of Destiny, the original game, is, and I know this from a recent interview with Gary, that he wasn't particularly satisfied with the ball itself. Unlike the rest of the game, which really does look and feel and play very much like a 3-dimensional game, the ball kind of looks a bit flat. The design of the ball is quite similar to the way that it was depicted on the cover art. I think those black and white designs were supposed to indicate some sort of circuitry, but it doesn't really look like a three-dimensional ball, unfortunately. And as I say, Gary was aware of that at the time. And so when we have a look at Sphere of Destiny 2 in a few minutes, we'll see that there was quite a difference actually, and that the ball takes on the appearance of a proper three-dimensional ball at that stage. Now, a little bit about the overall design of these levels. They're seeded, so the sort of design of them is it's not entirely random. They do repeat once they've been loaded, but they give basically the capability of having many different kinds of levels generated from a random seed. That makes them more or less challenging depending on the level. As you can see, I haven't managed to get past the second one here, and I find that really you're sort of, if you want to get good at the game, you just have to keep playing and playing and playing, and try and see if you can map out any kind of sense to the overall grid. But unfortunately, going slowly won't save you, because your duration bar will expire, as you can see at the top there, and then it's curtains for Bruce. All right, well, we'll give Sphere of Destiny 1 another try before we switch over to Sphere of Destiny 2. I have got a little cheat code in my back pocket if we want to experience some of the later levels. Obviously, the game is, in terms of its style and what you're actually doing, it remains very much the same level to level, but obviously the change is in the maps themselves. Now, for those of you wondering, what was my sort of thinking behind bringing a game like this in at number 32, I just think that it's just so radically different from games of its of its era. I mean, back in 1986, I don't think anybody had seen a game quite like this for the BBC Micro. Most things tended to be two-dimensional platform-style games. And this sort of style of a 3D starfield with this incredibly fast speedway it's just like nothing else really. And it's a kind of game that, even though it is obviously, as you can tell, pretty difficult to actually get good at, it makes you want to get better at it, because you just want to feel that thrill of finding the right route through the map, and then really just speeding through it for all you're worth. Okay, so we've done it pretty abysmally there. So I think what I'll do now is I will switch over to Sphere of Destiny 2, and we'll just see first of all how the game compares to the original, and also potentially invoke some of those cheats as well. So bear with me, and we will come right back very shortly. Okay, so we're going to load up Sphere of Destiny 2 here. There you go, Interstellar Highway made up of brightly coloured tiles. Bruce the Jet Ball is back. So very much the same kind of game, as you can see. Doesn't have that attractive scrolling title for the game itself, but there you go, that's Sphere of Destiny 2. Now, I don't know if you've been paying attention at all to some of these scrolling captions here, but the reference there to Gary being able to drive a Porsche, I think that comes back to some of the adverts that used to be in some of the magazines back then that depicted games programmers living an amazing, rich lifestyle and literally driving Porsches. And so there are lots of references in Sphere of Destiny 2 to the fact that Gary doesn't have a Porsche, which I think is quite funny. Anyway, let's go into Sphere of Destiny 2. And the first thing that we're going to notice is that the ball just looks so much better now. You can really see that effect of it looking like a ball rolling across the interstellar highway, as it says. Definitely an improvement on the ball from Sphere of Destiny 1. So top marks to Gary and Audiogenic there for that improvement. I think I'm right in saying that Sphere of Destiny 2 wasn't actually released solo. I don't think it came out as its own game. I haven't been able to track down any cover art specifically for Sphere of Destiny 2 as opposed to the original. I believe that its release on the Fab 4 compilation is the only release that it had. But obviously, if people disagree, or if any of you out there can remember buying Sphere of Destiny 2 on its own, do let me know. But yes, apart from the actual ball itself, hang on, no, let's try and... Oh dear, no, not doing too well here. Oh, that duration is a killer. You know, even when you manage to line up in the right place, you don't really manage to get very far. But yes, it's very much the same kind of game, but I do feel that the effect of the ball definitely improves the overall gaming experience of the game itself. You just feel like it's much more immersive, and the 3D effect of the interstellar highway just works that much better. I'm going to include it in this list of spherical supremos. Lovely. There we go. So I'll go and join the rest of the spherical supremos there. There you go. Scott free. Look, there's a reference to Peter Scott. Dax Von Drack is back. That's Daryl Still. Yeah, and Gary obviously at the top. Now, what you can do with Sphere of Destiny 2, and I believe a similar cheat is available through the original game as well, is that you can hold down a combination of keys, and it will take you through into a cheat mode. So I think I'm going to give that a go now. I might need to change my controls on the emulator to do this. So let's just quickly switch that over, and if I hold down, I think it's that key. There we go. The @ key. Please enter the password for cheat mode. So the password, funnily enough, whoops, is Porsche. There you go. There you go. Cheat mode now initialized. And what this means is that the black gaps in the interstellar highway have now been taken away and actually replaced with white tiles, which give you extra points. So not only removing the problem, but actually making things that much easier for you. And right, I'm going to just quickly switch my keys back to the original mode that I was using before. There we go, and let's go in again on your marks. Now, obviously, on level 1, we're not going to see any major difference because it's a fairly straightforward level, as we know. It's just really getting you used to the controls. So we'll just roll into the end here. There you go. Can't go wrong here, as it says. Quite right, too. Now, those captions, as I was saying in the introduction, are hilarious. The more levels that you get into the game, the more random, to be honest, they get. There's some rather... There you go. Look, now we've got these white tiles here, which mean that I don't have to fall through the gaps anymore, which is quite helpful. It means that you can keep on the road. You just have to be aware of which tiles you're running over, because as I did there, I ran over one of those reversey tiles, which means that I had to use it decelerate rather than accelerate. So yeah, the captions in the early days, they do seem to be related to the game itself. You know, there's a little bit of encouragement from Gary there. We're improving. By the way, I'm just jumping around for the hell of it because I just think it's more fun that way. Although it does, oh dear, my duration's really plummeting there. I think I must have run over a tile that didn't do me any favours. So actually jumping even on cheat mode does help you because it means you can avoid some of those nastier tiles. So let's just stick with this nice sort of jumping effect. But yes, as I say, oh no, we've done it again. Look, the duration's shooting down. Oh, okay. Maybe I will desist from the jumping and just see if we can get through level 3 at least. Be a bit embarrassing with cheat mode and still not being able to get through any of these levels. But yes, the captions, they do get more and more bizarre, and they start to reference things that presumably were going on in Gary's personal life at the time, including, I think, getting a speeding ticket on his journey up to Newcastle. There you go. Look, now he's talking about cars here. Do you want a Cavalier SRI? Yeah, lots of references to Newcastle. I think he even talks about going over to Peter's house later. You kind of get the feeling that as he was developing the game, he just kind of wrote these captions based on whatever was on his mind at the time. There you go. Look, go to see Rush next month. I mean, who knows what month that was? I mean, also bearing in mind when Gary would have developed the game versus when it was released. I mean, I don't know if that message would have been particularly helpful to people back then. It doesn't really reference which month. Oh dear, I've gone over a reverse one there. There you go. There we are. So you can see that with cheat mode on, it becomes a much more playable game. Arguably, of course, it takes the... there you go. I have not revised Tut Tut. Takes away some of the... well, actually, it takes away most of the skill. Let's be fair. So whether or not it becomes a more enjoyable game is up for dispute. Personally, I get a kind of thrill out of just playing the game and kind of immersing in that 3D world. It's just a lot of fun for me. But yes, it does mean that you don't really have to worry too much about figuring out the layout of the map and where to jump and where not to jump. You can kind of just race your way through. And there are 64 levels, so I'm not going to propose that we do all 64 levels in this review. I am actually sober. Oh, well, that's good to know. I don't know whether that was a reference to him not generally being sober when he was programming the game or not, really. Oh, hang on, deceleration. You can just see the number of white tiles here, how difficult these levels would be without cheat mode, because of course they would have been black tiles normally, and then you'd have just fought. I mean, look at that, huge gaps there. Oh, and oh dear, I've done the. Nope. Okay, managed to make it through to the end there. I thought perhaps the duration. There you go. There's Newcastle. He says he's got to go to Newcastle soon. I think there's a bit of a story actually. It starts off with got to go to Newcastle, then he starts talking about the fact that he is going to go and that he's going to drive up there, and then of course he ends up getting done for speeding. I think he even talks about having his license taken away and talks about what he's going to do in the meantime before having it revoked. So yeah, it's a funny old set of messages. It does actually start. It does having played all the way through to level 64. It does actually start to relate back to the game. Oh dear, we've gone into a treacle mode here. Oh dear, this isn't getting anywhere, is it? Yes, it does relate back to the game again. So I think just before the end, he starts giving you a bit of a countdown to suggest that you are making it. You're going to get there. And then obviously the final level itself. But yeah, there we are. So what I might do, because obviously on cheat mode these do start to all become a little bit samey, because it's not really. I mean, I'm not really demonstrating any skills here at all. I'm just bouncing around, racing to the end each time, just enjoying the thrill of the acceleration. As I say, there are definitely people out there who are. Apparently, I'm a boring gamester, according to the caption there. There are people out there who are, far better at this game than me, I'm sure, and who actually spend time figuring out how to complete it properly. But as I say, I just enjoy the experience of the game as much as anything else, and just admiring it for its technical brilliance, because it really does push the limits of the Beeb. I think you'd have to agree. But I don't even know what that's about. A wet, soggy cardboard box. Who knows? Who knows what was going through Gary's mind at the time? But anyway, I am going to probably just take it to the end of this level. And then we might do a little bit of creative editing and just show what happens. He's going to get drunk tonight. And just show what happens if you do manage to make your way all the way through to the end. So, give me a few seconds and we will join the game a little bit later in the level. Okay, so we're here. We are Orgasmic, you've done it. This is level 64, the final level in the game, just to prove that it is possible on cheat mode at least to get all the way to the end. And basically, what you're rewarded with is, due to the laws of censorship and the request of several people, this picture has been removed. So in the original Sphere of Destiny, there was a rather controversial image, shall we say, that greeted you at the end of the game. This is a family-friendly channel, so I'm not going to go into any more detail than that. The internet is at your disposal if you want to know what that was all about. But certainly by the time of Sphere of Destiny 2, I think the powers that be had obviously had a word with Gary and suggested that maybe that image wasn't the most appropriate thing to have at the end of a game. I don't know if anybody ever actually saw the image in Sphere of Destiny, the original, actually by completing the game truthfully, or whether it was only ever if you played on cheat mode. Peter Scott, I think, claims that he managed to complete it, but I don't know if that's verifiable or not. But as you can see, even if you do manage to complete the game, all that actually happens is it just loops around and takes you back to level 1 again, obviously with your score intact. And your lives. As you can see, I've accumulated quite a few lives because of being on cheat mode. But yes, there you go. That is Sphere of Destiny and Sphere of Destiny 2. I hope that you'll agree with me that as games for the Beeb go, it is pretty special. May not be the easiest game to play, and certainly if you are someone who plays games for the highest score and isn't interested in cheats, you may struggle, as I certainly do, with it. But I don't think that counts against the game in any way, because it is an exemplary case of superb programming for the Beeb. A really enjoyable game, very immersive, and yeah, definitely one to hunt out if you've not played it before. Definitely recommend Sphere of Destiny 2 over Sphere of Destiny, just for the full 3D experience. But there you go. That's That's a Sphere of Destiny pair of games from Audiogenic, developed by Gary Partis. And I think we'll probably draw the review to a close here. I hope you've enjoyed playing through Sphere of Destiny with me, and that you'll join me for the next video in the series. And until then, goodbye.